Your Excellency, Rashtrapati Sisi,
India and Egypt stand today as natural partners. Our trade has crossed $8 billion, and this is only the beginning. This partnership will create new opportunities for farmers, youth, and industry. Together, India and Egypt will build a future of prosperity and clean energy for the world.
It's January 2025. In a packed conference hall in Cairo, cameras flash as Indian and Egyptian ministers shake hands over a deal worth billions. Behind the photo op lies something much bigger than a ceremonial agreement. This moment marks a turning point. Two ancient civilizations, now major emerging economies, are stitching together a trade network that could reshape entire markets, from food to energy. But here's the real kicker. The number everyone is whispering about is $8 billion. That's the current scale of India and Egypt's trade boom. And yet, this figure is only the beginning of a race towards something far larger. So how did trade between New Delhi and Cairo suddenly explode? And why are both nations betting their futures on each other? To answer that, we need to dig beneath the headlines into the industries, the politics, and the hidden strategies driving this billion-dollar partnership. And as we'll soon see, this story isn't just about trade. It's about how India and Egypt are rewriting their roles on the world stage. Just 2 years ago, the story looked very different. In 2023, trade between India and Egypt had slipped to just $4.6 billion, a steep drop from the highs of $7.2 billion seen in 2021-22. Energy shocks, shipping disruptions, and inflation had all taken their toll. For a while, it seemed like the partnership was losing momentum, but by mid-2024, things started to change. A surge of new investments, particularly in renewable energy and manufacturing, began to close the gap. By the dawn of 2025, bilateral trade had climbed past the $8 billion mark, putting India among Egypt's top 5 trading partners. This wasn't just a rebound. It was a deliberate strategy. Egypt saw India as a gateway to Asian markets, while India saw Egypt as the perfect entry point to Africa and the Mediterranean. Together, they created a bridge linking 3 continents, and that bridge is now carrying billions in goods, energy, and ideas. But this sudden revival wasn't random. It was fueled by specific industries, each with its own story of risk and reward. And the first of those industries is one that could literally power the future. Because at the center of this trade boom lies a green revolution that could make or break both economies. If there's one word that captures the new India-Egypt trade boom, it's energy. But not just the oil and gas that once defined global commerce. This time, it's all about the clean fuels of the future. In 2024, India's Renew Power and Osier Energy committed billions of dollars to Egypt's Suez Canal Economic Zone. Their goal? To build massive facilities capable of producing green hydrogen and green ammonia. On paper, it looks like a straightforward renewable project, but in reality, this is a high-stakes gamble. Why Egypt? Because it offers something few other countries can: constant sunlight, vast desert space for solar fields, and direct access to Europe via the Suez Canal. And why India? Because its energy-hungry economy knows that whoever controls the green fuels of tomorrow will control global supply chains. Together, they're building a pipeline of investment worth up to $18 billion. If these projects succeed, they could turn Egypt into the Middle East's clean energy hub, with India as both investor and buyer. But if they fail, it could sink billions in capital and stall the dream of a carbon-free future. And here's the part most people miss. This isn't just about fuel. It's about geopolitical leverage. Whoever leads in green hydrogen will shape trade routes, dictate prices, and influence climate policies. That is why India and Egypt are racing against giants like China and the EU to lock in their positions now. But while energy is grabbing the headlines, another sector is quietly driving just as much money, one that goes straight to people's dinner tables. Step into an Egyptian farm in the Nile Delta, and you'll see rows of strawberries glistening in the sun. These aren't just for local markets. They're frozen, packed, and shipped, often ending up in supermarkets across Asia, including India. In fact, Egypt's food exports are exploding. In the first 7 months of 2025 alone, the country shipped out $4.03 billion worth of food products. Frozen strawberries alone raked in over $500 million, a staggering 77% jump from the year before. Add to that cooking oils, cola concentrates, and wheat, and you've got a booming trade sector. For India, this is a perfect match. With a population of 1.4 billion, India's demand for affordable food imports is massive. Egypt, on the other hand, needs steady supplies of Indian rice, spices, pharmaceuticals, and machinery. Each side feeds the other literally and economically. But here's the kicker. Food is just the surface. The real story is that agriculture is acting like a pressure valve for trade relations. Whenever energy prices fluctuate or politics get messy, food exports keep the relationship stable. They're the hidden glue of the $8 billion boom. And yet, agriculture alone can't explain why more than 55 Indian companies have already sunk over $4 billion into Egypt. To understand that, we need to look at something far bigger than farms or even energy plants. We need to explore how a narrow strip of land along the Suez Canal has become the crown jewel of this trade partnership. Stretching along one of the world's busiest waterways, the Suez Canal Economic Zone, or SCOAN, is where Egypt is betting its future. It's more than just a port or an industrial park. It's a laboratory for globalization, where countries can set up factories, bypass tariffs, and ship products straight to Europe, Africa, and Asia. For India, the SCOAN is like a golden key. Dozens of Indian firms from auto manufacturers to chemical producers have planted their flag here. They're not just exporting to Egypt, they're using Egypt as a launchpad to reach other markets. Think of it this way. An Indian company can manufacture in Egypt, benefit from favorable trade deals with the EU and Africa, and then sell goods with fewer tariffs. That's a competitive advantage money alone can't buy. And this isn't small scale. More than 38,000 jobs in Egypt are already tied to Indian investments, and that number is climbing fast. It's not charity, it's strategy. For every Egyptian employed, there's an Indian investor gaining influence in the Mediterranean. But there's another layer here, one that connects not just Egypt and India, but an entire mega project linking continents. And this next piece could transform trade routes in ways not seen since the days of the Silk Road. In September 2023, India, the US, Saudi Arabia, and the EU unveiled the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. At first, it sounded like just another infrastructure plan, but by 2025, its significance became impossible to ignore. This corridor is designed to connect Indian ports to the Middle East and onward to Europe, with Egypt sitting right at the crossroads. If it works, IMEC could cut shipping times, slash costs, and rival China's Belt and Road Initiative. For Egypt, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Its ports and logistics hubs would become indispensable nodes in global supply chains. For India, it's a way to project power beyond Asia, linking its factories directly to European markets. And here's where the $8 billion trade boom fits in. Egypt and India aren't just trading goods. They're rehearsing for a future where their partnership anchors an entire trade superhighway. If IMEC becomes reality, the groundwork being laid today in energy, agriculture, and industry will look like the prologue to something much larger. But global trade corridors don't run on optimism alone. They run on politics. And politics in 2025 is shifting fast in ways that make the India-Egypt relationship even more crucial. The world of 2025 is divided. Superpowers are competing, supply chains are fragile, and conflicts have made global shipping more volatile than ever. In this environment, smaller but ambitious nations like India and Egypt have a choice: get pulled into the orbit of bigger powers or carve out their own alliances. That's what makes their partnership so interesting. Egypt has long been a bridge between Africa and the Arab world. India, meanwhile, is positioning itself as the voice of the global South. Together, they can amplify each other's influence, whether at the G20, the BRICS Plus bloc, or the UN. It's not just about economics, it's about narrative. When Prime Minister Modi visited Cairo and called Egypt a natural partner, it wasn't just diplomatic courtesy. It was a signal that India sees Egypt as part of its long-term strategic vision. And the timing couldn't be more important. As Western and Chinese supply chains compete, Egypt offers India a neutral, flexible gateway. As Egypt diversifies away from dependency on the Gulf, India offers a stable, growing partner with enormous demand. In other words, the $8 billion trade boom isn't just about dollars, it's about diplomatic insurance in an unpredictable world, and that brings us back full circle to the question of where all this is heading. Trade between India and Egypt has been around for millennia, from spice routes in the ancient world to cotton and wheat exchanges in the modern era. But in 2025, it's taking on a new character. It's not just about moving goods, it's about building a bridge that links Asia, Africa, and Europe in a time when the world feels more fractured than ever. At $8 billion today, the trade boom may look modest compared to giants like China or the US, but both nations have set their sights higher, $12 billion in the next 5 years. If the green hydrogen projects take off, if the food exports keep rising, if the scone becomes the hub it promises to be, then this partnership could outgrow anyone's expectations. The handshake in Cairo in January 2025 wasn't just a photo op, it was the start of a chapter where India and Egypt choose not just to trade, but to co-write their future. And in a world where every nation is searching for stability, that choice might prove to be worth far more than $8 billion.